Okay, with Nathan Lee, he's basically the curator. It's a good appropriate term, and basically put together the idea for the show. So give us some background about how did it start?
Initially, when we made Skin, it was going to be a primarily African American show. But what I ended up doing is opening it up to other groups of people, and instead of it being I guess one basic idea, we divided it up into race, racial identity, concepts of internal racism, and physical beauty in society, because they all kind of tie together. So I thought it would be really interesting to get the points of views from different groups of people. And the artists that I chose, some of them are artists that I'm familiar with, and some of them are emerging artists. I figured that we would take everybody outside of their comfort zone, I mean, including myself, because I primarily sculpt. So okay. I figured we would kind of challenge the artists to push their mediums and go in directions that they might not have gone into, by talking about those social issues.
Yeah, I've noticed there's sculpture, there's painting, there's even one of the pieces a mixture of computer graphics and a collage format. So one of them that's really interesting to me is the one with the balls. What are those? What's that about?
That's Aaliyah Woods, and they have different ideas on them. One of them, and I really love those things. One of them, and she wants you to pick them up. They're interactive art.
I noticed the gloves.
Yeah, the gloves are so people can pick them up. And what that's about, one of the balls is about hair and different hair types. And she has all these different writings and sayings, and I think it's silk fibers. She's a fiber artist. And she normally makes long flowing pieces that are almost three-dimensional, but she went a different route. And I really thought it was great that she pushed her medium and made those.
Well, what's some of the things that the artists that were interested in being a part of it, did they have any questions for you about, well, what's it about,
I had a couple of questions from artists that were not of color. A good friend of mine, actually, she wanted to know, why would I want her to be in the show, and she was white. Well, I told her that these concepts kind of bind all of us. It's not a black thing, a white thing, a Hispanic thing. Everybody has their own challenges, and as far as identity are concerned, period, and from a visual standpoint. And if it's all visual in nature, those insecurities that are brought about because of certain things in society that deal with physical appearance and all that, the result is the same. As far as that insecurity, as far as those feelings, whether it's skin color, whether it's hair type, whether it's being too thin, being too, the feeling goes back to the same. So I wanted to kind of get at the human condition too. So that's what binds us.
Well, what kind of responsibilities do you think the artist has to reflect the culture that they're in?
I think artists in general have a social responsibility, period. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about pushing boundaries, and we spend a lot of time talking about these ideals and thinking outside the box, where you have to walk the talk. And I think we just have a responsibility, not only to a group of people, as a black artist, I have a responsibility to people in general, to push those boundaries and to push buttons sometimes.
Well, how did you know that art was going to be the thing for you? What was it basically that let you know that you were going to be an artist?
Music. I got into music. I was a hip-hop artist. I did graffiti. And after the music subsided and things didn't work out, I got into graffiti. And then I ended up going to an art show. A guy named Daniel Simmons, a real prominent artist in New York. I saw my first show, and it was a situation where they looked at art as a legitimate career. It wasn't, oh, you're an artist, what do you do during the day? So that kind of prompted me, and I've always been creative, I've always sculpted, so I just made a commitment. A friend of mine told me I should pursue this, and I took her advice.
Well, who are some of your other influences?
Artistically?
Yes. Well, in general, I mean, you combine really everything for your art, right? So what are some of your influences?
Artistically, there's a man named Francesco Clemente that I would probably quit my job to meet. From an artistic standpoint, as far as just from a hero standpoint, my father. And I try to walk as similar to him as possible. Everybody, a lot of people think their fathers are heroes, and that everybody would love to believe that about their father. That man is my proof that there's a God. and I want to make him proud. I want to be the best that I can be because of him. So those are my two biggest influence. He is the influence, but those are mine. And my family, my mother, they're very supportive.
Great. And what would you say then is your next step? What's going to happen next?
The next step after this, I would like to establish a center for African American and Latino art in the areas where there are predominantly Latinos and African American. I think we're taking a big step here because until recently there was a misconception that most of the gallery scenes were for white, affluent Oklahomans, and that's not really the case. And it's not that they haven't been inclusive. It's just there's just been this big wedge of no communication. And I feel like if we break those down and people of color start seeing that these activities are for everybody, then there's going to be a day when they want them in their own communities, and I want to be a part of that.
That's great. Looking forward to the future then.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about the future, really excited.
Okay, thank you.